Hello, shalom, everybody. Kuda. It's been a while since I've been on here on a live stream. I do live streams twice a week on Patreon, but it's just been a while, and everybody has been on my heart through not only Facebook but also from YouTube. And I thought that it would probably be really good for me to check in with all of you. So it's just me today. I don't have any guests. I wanted to bring forth some of the things that I've been studying, and I don't know who Facebook user is that's watching, but I see your little eyeballs. That's hysterical. So I'm glad that you're watching. That makes me smile. So thanks for the eyeballs. Thanks for the laugh. I was looking at Acts today. Sometimes when I study, I might be on Facebook in the morning just perusing through. Hi, Patty. Might be perusing through Facebook land and taking a look at people's posts. And sometimes they'll mention a English scripture. And it's just kind of like roulette for me. I'll be going through and all of a sudden the scripture will come up and I'll go, well, that's interesting. Maybe I should take a peek and see what is being shared here at a deeper level. And for any of you that may be new, you may not know how we kind of go about in digging into these languages. But it is at that really deeper esoteric level. It's not through the surface translation. And we don't look at it as the scriptures being a accurate historical document. We see it more as through the letters, what it is sharing about who we are in our process of maturation, because it's really a blueprint for us how to go from one place to another. The beauty in it is that every time that you look within the languages and you take a look at the words, it is a perfect reflection of where you are at in the moment, for where you are in your maturation, because that which you are seeing is reflecting that light right back at you. So whether you're looking as it or at it will determine where you are in your process of maturation. We also share a lot about the mother perspective and the father perspective. And I know for a heavy patriarchal system, if you are still within the Christian church, we know that it's a very predominantly heavy patriarchy side. And much of that is lost, or the feminine part is very much lost in the translation. It literally was like cast out or cast down. For various reasons, due to theology, due to indoctrination. And our hearts, well, my husband's not here right now, so I'll speak for me. My heart is to bring these things back to life. When Chava was taken out of Adam, so Chava is the Hebrew name for what was translated as Eve. It is the mother of all living, which is quite hilarious when you take a look how it's spelled. For those of you who don't know the letters, this is going to probably lose you in translation a little bit here. But it's spelled Het Vav Aleph. And Het is the esoteric letter that means life. And then the Vav is the transmutable sign that connects the spirit and the flesh. And then the Aleph is the essence of the unseen, the spirit, God. So the mother of all living was taken out of Adam. And we have been on a journey to hunt and chase after that. The letter Het also means to separate. So what you can say is that the ego, when Chava, the mother of all living, which is the unification of all into the essence of the unseen, because everything is God, when we were separated from that, from the mother of all living, we began to see from the ego's perspective as a separated self, instead of the actuality that we are one with the essence of the creator. So just want to give you a little backlog story here as to what we're doing if you're new to this channel. For some of you, you've been here for a long time, so you already know this. And so I guess it could be considered inculcation, as we're sharing a little bit more as a refresher of that which we are presenting. So I'm going to go ahead and start right into the scripture, and we'll go from there. I'm hoping not to take too much time, but it will take as long as it takes for me to bring the point across. I will try not to bog you down with too much detail. But again, like I said, it's been a while since I've connected with any of you here really in this process of either being a live stream with Facebook or on YouTube. So let's go ahead and do a screen share. And give me just a moment here. And we will dive into that. And hopefully I will have brought up the correct one to start with. Yes, it does look like it. All right. I can't see me. I can't see comments. I have no idea what's going on other than the screen that is right in front of me. You probably can see me, but I can't see anything. So I'm just going to start sharing from this scripture, and then I will check back in if there's any questions as we continue to go. The scripture that I was looking at, actually I went a little bit further back, but down in those verses, I really wanted to focus on something here that really caught me. It caught me by surprise. And what caught me out by surprise was this word right here, kumra. Kumra is an Aramaic word for priest. But there's also other words for priest. Shemesh is used, Kohen or Kohona. All of these are other words that are used for priests, but I had not seen this specific one. So man, I kind of had to tilt my chair back and go, what is going on here? How come I've never seen this before? And what you are looking at right here in Acts chapter 14, verse 13 is the first time it's used in this occurrence. Every other occurrence from this point forward is out of the book of Hebrews. Do you think that is significant? Yes. That was a rhetorical question. For those of you who've been around me long enough know how much I love those, but I was actually able to catch that one. Yes, it is important. That was a rhetorical question. It's extremely important that we see this version of priest because of what it is connected to and what is being shared here. I find it interesting that the Qumran community was named such because they were known as the priesthood of light, versus the priesthood of darkness, which was the priesthood that took over after the Hasmonean dynasty was established, when the Maccabean revolt happened and they kicked the high priesthood out, and they ended up going to Qumran, the location near the Dead Sea, where they formed their own community. And so now I look at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where they're getting that word from, the Qumran community, because it is the priesthood. Now, I want to show you something that I find very interesting on this. Resh Aleph would be the word Ra, and Ra is meaning to see. It's an Aleph. These would be the Resh, the leaders, the chiefs, the first fruits that see oneness, unity, Qumran. Now, having said that, I do not subscribe and say that I know everything that the Qumran community was about. I have different memories from times that I existed within that community, but to say that I know the end all be all, I do not. I only have fragmented pieces of things that I remember. But I do know that through the language, I can see what is being shared through here. So in this idea of the priest here, we have the transmutable, the convertible sign that is letting us know that we need to connect our material and our spirit together through the process of going through Mother's teaching. Again, Mother's teachings from 0 to 12. This would be one who would be getting into, quote unquote, as you would know it, the bride status, is being set apart, getting ready to move into the intimacy status from bride to queen. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail of some of these things because there's over 800 videos on the YouTube channel that will help explain this. But this is telling us the first step that we need to do in the natural realm is make sure that we begin to connect our physical, material flesh with our spiritual side. Very important. And then grasping a hold of the power that is found on the inside of us that at first is chaotic. And we come from that poor and destitute place, raising ourselves up into the oneness unity, giving us the ability to see. That's the word for priesthood. I find that pretty fantastic. I am going to have an interruption because my husband came home, so he's going to be walking in as we're doing this live stream, but that's okay because he might have something to say. So the dog's going to bark, getting all excited because Dad's home because he just worked half a day. I just didn't think he was going to be home this early. So here is a different word for priesthood, the priesthood that sees. Anybody who connects to the law of one material and the entity known as Ra, well, here you go. This is part of that connection. And in moving a little bit further here, we have the Lord, which is right here, of the gods. Now, interesting here, because Mara is a word for Lord, but it's also for sovereign. And it is also connected to the Magdalene energy. Hi, I'm on a live stream right now. So anyway, you're home early. Glad to have you home. So here we have Mare, which has to do with the Magdalene energy, the feminine energy, which I just think is fantastic because I haven't seen this before. And it's the door into sovereignty or into energy that is connected to God. This is an important distinction to make because as the word God, that seems to be just very static and not approachable. But when you take a look at it through here, that there's a door to this, a door to sovereignty that leads into Allah. And what we see highlighted in the middle, which is always pertaining to heart for this word for God, the Lamed is being instruction or a staff of authority. The Hey is a letter meaning revelation or that which is being revealed. And on the prefix and the suffix of this, you literally have two Aleph flanking. Aleph is the mystery of the many who are one, but it is also the representation of mother and father unified. So you have the bookends of the essence of the unseen, God, which is in and through everything. Everything is God. And then you have the Lamed in the inside saying the heart is instructing and revealing in the ways of God. But there's a door that must be entered through. And this is our sovereignty established as strong leaders, teaching shepherds that bring forth the revelation of oneness unity. I don't know about you, but I think that is really fascinating. So I'm going to pop out real quick and see if there's any questions, see if there's anybody else on here. Oh, hi. I see you guys. Glad to have you joining us. We've got Christopher here. I've got 7 of you right now. Well, please have a shout out and say hi to me. It's good to see you guys. So going back to this, now that I see that there's no questions here, we're going to pop back into the verse so I can move through it a little bit more quickly here. I get used to hitting my buttons again because it's been a while since I've used the software. Okay. So we have this doorway into sovereignty that is the Magdalene energy that is leading us to God. Now, again, our view of what God isn't necessarily, and that would be through our indoctrination, is not that exactly what it is saying to us in our maturation process, especially when we get to the place of connecting the Magdalene energy with the Christ energy. Because really, the doorway into this is through bitterness. And why is it a bitter journey? Why is the mar there? Why is this bitter journey through the waters of chaos and being in that poor and destitute place? Well, simply because we entered into the place of separation and entering the ego, separating us from this unified place. But as we compare this or that, or good or evil, it allows us to rise up and out of that. So very important foundational piece here. Something else that I thought was really interesting in looking at this, I want to look at the word here first for city, and I'm going to highlight it here so that you can see what I'm talking about. This is the word for city. And in the root of this, we have the word for judge. Now, this does not necessarily mean that the cities are going to be judged. Think about a city set upon a hill. Think about the light of the world. We have the mem letting us know that we've entered into the waters of chaos. So think of the birthing channel. We entered into existence. And our expression around us until we figure out what is going on is a little bit of chaos, because we went through the veil of forgetting. We don't have answers. We don't know why we're here. There's a lot of chaos as we're just trying to figure it out. But once we enter into the doorway to the inside, where there's the spark of the creator, of the divine nature, the essence of the doing of the creator, this is connected to our heart energy that is giving us a new seed of life, so that we can complete our journey in the fullness of exempt from judgment, because now we've entered back into oneness unity. So therefore, as judge, having completed it, we are exempt from it, because we're no longer in that place of separation of comparisons. So this is a city set upon a hill, one who is now in the position as mighty judge, who has neutralized everything into oneness unity, that is exempt from judgment themselves, because judgment is separation and comparison. I just love that. Now I want to take a peek here at the word oxen. I know we've gone over all of Yod Tov quite a bit, and I don't want to bog it down. I see so many treasures, and I want to bog it down, but it's just too much. So I got to move past for the sake of getting you through the points that I want to make. So this isn't a 2-hour video. Sitting still for 2 hours while somebody's talking can be a little overwhelming. At least I find that it is for me. The word for ox here, very interesting that it is torah. That might ring a bell. That might connect something with you in taking a look at like the first 5 books of the Old Testament known as Torah, which is the instructions of flow of his water. It has the essence of or, which is the word for light. So it's light instructions here. It's translated at ox, but we're going to go a little deeper here. So if we're looking at the middle essence of this is light, and then we have Tav Aleph, those 2 letters form a word that means an enclosure or a guarded small space. And then the frequency of the words on the inside of this are speaking of light. So the small enclosed space that is in the inner portion of this word, and anything in the center of a word is directly connected to your heart. This is exactly talking about the light that is found within the sacred space of the heart. I love that. Now, ox, just to let you know, Paleo Hebrew, the aleph as a symbol is an ox head, and it means strength, and it means leader first, and also as a representation of God. So again, we have Ra represented again, and then we have the Tavav, which is a 2-letter word also that means exempt from judgment, or it means literally the mark. So if you were to look at this word right here, this would be the mark of Ra. Interesting. So let's dig a little bit deeper, and hopefully this will follow. It looks like it's following. I don't know if it is. I'm hoping it is. But if it isn't, I'm just going to share what I'm seeing. So this will make a lot of sense. Maybe, maybe not. Here we have the word for ox or steer. But we're going to dive into something just for convenience sake. That's going to take us to Marcus Jastro's Dictionary of the Targum and the Talmud Babli, so that we can see where this is coming from. I think you'll find this fascinating. So we have this word torah, as in tor, a row, a line, or order. And any of you that have been following some of the things that we've been talking about, especially on our Patreon account, we've been talking about the missing row that is on the ephod. So we have a row, a line, or an order that we're talking about here. And I know from my studies in it that this is directly connecting to that 4th row on the ephod that was missing the last 3 gemstones when light came in as a fractal of source, that we were not ready for those yet, but we are now moving into those. So again, the mark of Ra. So connect that in changing your mind in the frequency of the way you think of the mark. from something that has been projected externally that the mark might be versus what the writings are sharing with us. So when we take a look at this here in a little bit deeper, we have the word, look at this, to be awake. Well, I can't highlight it, so hopefully you just see my cursor. To be awake, to awaken, to turn and to order. Oh, does that get you excited? Because it gets me excited when I take a look at that, because we're talking about being awake and turning awake. Why is that important? Because this verse right here is really sharing with us about the unification of the Magdalene heart and the Christ mind that are coming together and marking us with this ability to see, raising us up to be first fruit leaders, moving into the essence of the unseen, the absolute nature of oneness unity. And this is why, in coming from this place of the judges entering in, is they have been able to neutralize this or that, black or white, right or wrong, good or evil, and they have been unified now with the tree of life. So, there's so much more I can say, but I'm going to skip ahead. Let's talk about this word right here, Kalila. This would be garlands, but it's also a word for crown. But I got super excited when I saw this because these 3 letters right here, actually, let me highlight. Sorry about that. Let me highlight this. Lila. This is the unification of Lila and Hallel. Now, there's a movement that happens that whenever you see a hey in, which is, let me highlight it so you guys can see this. And this is a perfect example right here. This letter, the hey, which means revealing or revelation, whenever you see a hey that is written either on the prefix or a suffix of the word, it is actually looking for the maturation of the aleph. It means there's a revealing that is coming through the spirit breath, the essence of the unseen that is trying to reveal and breathe through into your being oneness unity. So when we see this is Lila. So think of feminine energy. You guys would know Lila as Lilith. There's many things that can be said. We've brought forth incredible teachings, especially from Doug Wentz, in speaking about Lila. But here is Lila, and the permutation for this, the aleph would be on the prefix side over here where the Kaf is, and that would be Hallel. So for those of you who know of Hallel and Lila, in the narrative that the church was bringing forth for us to create a thought form egregore, it would be Lucifer and Lilith. Now, for some of you, if you're new to this channel and you hear me talking about this, that is probably going to be a really strong red flag for you based upon church indoctrination, but not really what the language is saying. Because in this form right here, between the unification of Lila and Hallel being unified as one, as the absolute essence of the unseen, the mystery of the many who are one, taking the upper vision, Yod, and the lower, again, how that aleph is constructed, Hallel and Lila, and unifying them in man in the center point of light. This is the word for wreath and crown. These are the crowns, but it also means to be completed, to be perfected. And it also takes in consideration the root here of Kali or Kala, which is the bride. The bride who is now crowned then becomes the queen, which is connecting to Asherah, the queen of heaven. So again, the queen of heaven is a frequency that is the maturation, because the queen of heaven cannot be unless she receives her crown. The crown cannot come unless it comes from Hallel, unless it comes from Christ. And the only way that the two of these can merge together, take a look at this, Lamed, Layod, Lamed, is they must combine the spark within the center of their beings. So within this right here, within the center of this word, this Lail, you literally have twin staffs of authority, one of mother and father, one of Hallel, one of Lila, both carrying the essence of the creator source spark of life. And the way that they create something new is the spark of life must come and meet in the middle. So you have ascending light of Hillel, you have the ascending light, or darkness, I should say, of Lila, and they meet right in the middle, which sparks and permeates something new that you can now do, work and deed of your hand, power, means, and direction being given to your heart in order to lead you into oneness unity. And with the cough right in the front, it's saying, grasp this power, let it wean you and ripen you and move you into the place of maturity, moving out of just the bride paradigm into the queen, as in the woman, the wife, the bride who has now been married, coming down, that is a representation of Jerusalem, no longer as Israel, but literally as Jerusalem. I have some stuff that's going to be coming out on YouTube fairly soon that will be able to explain some of that process of going from Israel to Jerusalem. If you're not connecting to that right now, things are coming to share that. Now, why this is significant is moving into this next word here, Treya, because this is really has to do with the gates of our mind and unifying. Heart-brain coherence is another really good way to say this. Right in the middle of this, we have the reshain, which is a word that means not only adversary, but it means friend. And when we take in consideration this olive that's been added, had that hay prior, which it would have had to have been, because you have to have a revelation in order to connect to the essence of the unseen, or else you're not connecting or becoming one with it. This is a word for shepherd. So the shepherd is an adversarial friend, totally dependent upon that which the shepherd is reacting to or working with, if they have been brought into a place to shepherd. So in other words, really what this is saying to us is we are our own shepherd, and we are an adversarial friend dependent upon what we are wrestling with our ego that continues to want to say that we're separated, or continually dividing and separating out. It's a very adversarial component, yet it can be a friendly component too when it serves in the serving self to unify it into this beautiful place of oneness unity. And again, this has to do with gates and portals. This has to do with the gate of your mind and the portal of your heart, where they are now working in a coherent fashion, because Aleph means one. The gates of the mind and the portal of the heart are now working in fashion, connected together in coherence, and staff of authority has been given. And again, this is something that we've had to compile, we've had to put together, we've had to learn, we've had to process. And then when we go through this, it gives us the ability to then turn around and be a shepherd for others as we are teaching them this process of what it looks like, because we became it. So going a little bit deeper here, we're going to go back to my analyzing, and hopefully he's following along. Court atrium, very interesting too. I've got some notes here. I don't have specifically on that one, but the court in the atrium is actually the dar. And we are going to take a peek in here to dar. Again, we go back into rows, range and order. If you can see this down here, I know it's small print. Let me see if I can enlarge it for you. Row, range, and order. So again, all of this is connected to that which we have been sharing about that fourth row of the ephod. But then it's talking about a court. But look at this. To winnow and to carry. Do you see this? To winnow and carry. Now, we've shared for a while that there are two first fruits that we talk about. We talk about the barley bride and the wheat bride. And again, this is a process of maturation going from the bride to the queen. Let me stop share. I'm going to get back in so I can see you guys. Well, I can't really see you, but at least I can see if you guys are having any questions here or having a lively discussion in the chat room. So we've talked about the barley bride and the wheat bride. And the barley bride is one that goes through the winnowing process. And so winnowing is really being tossed up in the air, which is significant because that's connecting the rucha dekucha, the Holy Spirit, which is breath, wind. And as the barley is tossed up in the air through the winnowing, the chaff is then blown away. And then the result is the seed is left, the barley. whereas the wheat has to be threshed. It has to be beaten. So in this, it's connected to the barley of those who have been winnowed, through the Spirit. Of course, it's going to be that way. So the dalet thresh, we also know, is connected to the Hebrew word, pearl. The pearl of great price is you, those who have been winnowed. So those of us that are in this journey, that have been following the Spirit where it leads and allowing the Spirit to toss us a little to and fro, because we're trying to get rid of all of the chaff so that the seed can be left. That is what this is speaking to. Isn't that, I get so excited when I see this stuff, because it changes something so diminished in the English can just be seen as these beautiful multicolored dimensional words that are speaking directly to our heart, to the Magdalene heart and the mind of Christ, so we can unify them together. It's so beautiful. All right, so I don't see any questions here. Cloud 309, you're new to me. I'm happy that you're here. First time I've seen you. So other users, Facebook users, friends, I see many, many faces here through avatar names, and I'm so happy you're here. So welcome, Cloud 309. Okay, let's jump back into it. Because again, I don't want to take all day to try to get through these things. Although those of you that have been hanging with me for a while know that this is my favorite thing to do, but I can get pretty long-winded. All right. So the next word that we've already talked about, this winnowing process. So what is this saying to us here? If the winnowing process, as you can see, the root of it is dalet resh. So again, for those of you who don't know this, anytime letters are added on the prefix or the suffix, it is explaining direction to us. It's giving us more than what would just be translated. Okay, so hold. Woo, sorry about that. Just started having a little bit of issue there with my asthma. That was not fun. Anyway, let's go back to sharing. Okay. I'm going to pop over to my screen share. Let's go back. So I can see it anyway. Let me get to the right page here. All right. So we have the dalet on the prefix, and when we have the tav aleph on the suffix. And again, the tav aleph being on the suffix, that small enclosed space, which we're talking about the heart, this is really connected to Father, which is revealing the Magdalene energy. And then we have the door on the prefix side, Mother, which is revealing the Christ energy. So one is building from the mind. The other one is the filling of the heart, the pearl of great price. So how does this apply? Dalet is a word that is actually, it's a separation from inside to outside. It's the symbol for a door. But when we drill down on it, it lets us know that there's an area in us that is causing separation, which is causing something is left dangling, and it needs to be attached. And it makes us ill, weak, and feeble, that we need to deliver ourselves from. It's not anything that anybody else does. It's through the work and deed of our own hand, through the process of maturation, that we go through it and deliver ourselves in realizing that the pearl of great price is actually that which is within us. And I find it interesting through spiral thinking here. We have the element of Ra again that has a Ta right in the middle of it. So Ra, as in one who sees the completion as of having risen up into the oneness unity, now has the completed covenant within, that they are now completed. they no longer judge their heart. They have completed, and they found that pearl of great price, which I just think is just fascinatingly beautiful. Now let's move into this word right here, this Aleph Tav Resh. Aleph Tav Resh, the first two letters, is an idiom. It's an idiomatic expression for the sacred language, both Hebrew and Aramaic, because letter for letter, the Hebrew Aleph is the same as the Hebrew or the Aramaic Aleph. Their symbols look different. Their energy is slightly different because one is very masculine in the building process. The other one is the infilling that happens after the building process. One is masculine, one is feminine, but really they are unified as one. And we take a look at that in the process of building. So again, the Christ energy is building something. The Magdalene energy is then filling it with a new creation. So another way that you could say that is the masculine energy has to go into the sacred place of the heart to unite in the womb within this place of maturation for something to be birthed anew. And that's where it becomes unified, is right here in the center. So here we have idiomatic expression, the Aleph through the Tav, which is the sacred languages, literally the first and the last, because here's the first letter and here's the last letter. The first and the last, the beginning and the end. That might connect you guys to the Alpha and Omega, which is Greek. That really is in Aramaic, the Aleph and the Tav. And then we have the Resh here, raising us up from being poor and destitute. Again, this isn't a judgmental statement on a subjective side. This is just very objective. We come in being poor and destitute because we don't know anything and we've lost all our memories. We have a head wound we need to remember. And we need to be able to connect to the process of raising ourselves up from that place of separation. So this word here in the middle of it, we have a Tav, and on the flanking side, we have Aleph Resh, which means light. How beautiful is that? The covenant of light. So why don't we take a look and see what this word means? Because now I've explained the letters. So we're gonna dive in here and we're gonna pull up what this is. But there's something that I need to share with you because it doesn't seem like it's much, because in the translation, let me get out of here. In the translation, no, we're going to go back here so you can see there. So this would be a region, a place, a country, a respite, a space, a room, Aleph Tav Resh. And when we take a look at the Aleph Tav Resh, it's just in its root form. And Aleph Tav Resh. This is the point that I really wanted to get to on this, is it means part of it, you see all these definitions right here, okay? But part of it means time, opportunity, and advantage. Okay, let's really connect to that. Time, opportunity, and advantage. So what is this verse saying to us? There is a time and an opportunity and an advantage for us if we go through the process of the Aleph through the Tav, through the sacred languages that raise us up. Now, something else that you need to know here. Tav Resh is a shortened form of a word that is connected to inheritance, excelling, exceeding, and abundance. The only difference is that it would be spelled with a yod instead of an aleph. But many of you who have hung out with us for a while know the aleph and the yod are interchangeable, and that literally the aleph is made of two yods and a vav. So is this connected? Rhetorical question, Carrie. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is connected. So exceedingly abundant, inheritance, magnificence, it's all connected to right here, that there's a time and an opportunity for us. Oh, that's so good. Then we have another word here that I wanted to point out to you. Here, the root essence of this, of the word that means truth, or that which is true. the door into truth. Well, what's so amazing about that? On the Dalet and the Resh, we have the word for pearl again, and this time we have a sheen. Now, yes, we could say play on words, a sheen that's on a pearl, the pearly sheen, because that's the literally sheen. Well, you guys get it. What we see in English as a sheen on a pearl, but this is really the fire. This is the fire that's within the pearl. So the pearl of great price, those have found the consuming fire on the inside. This is the burning heart. This is the seraphic message that has come activated within. So there's the time and an opportunity and a place for light, the Aleph and the Resh, that is going to be given to those who find the covenant, which means just the mark of exemption from judgment, because they found the pearl of great price, which is them, and they are now creating their own fire as the sheen, as the seraph from the inside out. This is now changing that spin to the negentropic position instead of the entropic, where you're creating your own energy. And the two letters here is this is what is true. And then the last two or three letters in here is the power of songs of deliverance, shouts of joy. Oh, I just love this stuff. It's so much fun. So when we take a look at this, what is this word? Loosen, lodge, begin, loosened, and eat. To loosen. To loosen that which is bound. Okay, so why is that connected? Because when we are creating our own fire, we have fully now activated the chakra system. There's nothing being bound. There's nothing being choked off. That energy is able to be flowing through us completely and fully. And just to let you know as well, the Sheen Resh also is a word, Sar Shalom. You guys probably have heard that phrase before, maybe not. Those of you who have been in the Hebrew Roots movement would know this is the Prince of Peace, Sar Shalom. This speaks of royalty. So in the process of maturation, that gets us to the place of the song of deliverance, because we went within, we delivered ourselves from that which we were disconnected from, which is the fire of creation from the inside, that then we raise ourselves up from the poor and destitute, separated place to become first fruit leaders, now carrying that spark, that vision from the Father to present as a new seed of life to others and present the true message of that which is coming from a princely, priestly, priestess position. Again, uniting both energies of the Magdalene and the Christ. Almost done. And then I'll have just a little bit more that I want to share. And then if you guys have questions, I can answer it, or else we'll be done. So when you take a look at these last several words here, you see that we're talking about loosening, but we have here, we have be, was, turn, and then we separated here with will and desire, to sacrifice, to immolate, to and for. Notice this right here. This is a single amed that's just standing out there. That's just 2 or 4. So we're going to keep that in mind. Let's pop out of here. And we're going to go back to the verse that we were looking at. Let's minimize that, and hopefully we're still following. No, wrong. Hello. There we go. So we were taking a look at this word, be, was, and turn. Be, was, and turn. This is connected to Haya. So anybody that has been with us for a while, I know I say this, but this will help dot connect for you. Haya is the root for Yod He Vav He. And Haya means to be, to come to pass. When you've heard the term I am, it becomes Eye, where you have an aleph in front of the Haya. Well, this is the same thing, but now this is the process of one who has turned. Why is that so fantastic? Because instead of Hey Yod Hey, it's Hey Vav Aleph, which means that the revelation was brought forth, the convertible sign connecting to their heart, to the message, the spirit and the natural man has now connected into the place where they've turned to and towards having become one. This is literally the inhale and the exhale of spirit breath in becoming into the place of maturation and becoming one with God, as God. So you're connecting the higher and the lower side again through, we already saw that over here, through Lila and Hillel, Kalila, those who have been crowned. So what's this middle word here? And why is this important? Why do we see it written with two vavs here versus the vav aleph? Well, because you have to connect to two things. You have to connect to mother and you have to connect to father. These, when we bring these together, it's very interesting that the hey vav by itself, just the hey vav. So whenever you see hey vav hanging by itself, it is the potential life and the power. It's the potential life, power of being, which is an incomprehensible state of being a thing, which is not yet existing, but is found within the power of existing. This is a very extremely difficult concept to try to convey. So what is this saying? This means this is binding nothingness to something. The nothingness of the essence of the unseen to something. The revealing of that process. Potential life to the power of being. Wow. And when we bring the two of these together, the two vavs, it's every conversion and every junction. So that process has to take place. This conversion process has to take place. Now, just throwing this out here, the vav in the gematria, or as far as the soul number goes, the vav is the number 6. The 6 is connected to man. When you have both of these vavs side by side here, would be a 6 and a 6. This is 66. Do you think it's a coincidence that what we have to look at through the sacred languages of Hebrew and Aramaic in the books that we have are 66 books? Could they be connected? I'll leave that up for you to decide, but I find that pretty amazing to see. Going back, will and desire. This is what is connecting these two phrases of was, be, and turn. Okay, so was, be, and turn. Let's go back to the verse that we were looking at. I just popped out, so I can't, it's not saying that I'm sharing it, so I have to go back and share my screen. I should check on you guys, see how you're doing. All right. Loving everybody that's here. Thank you for your comments. I'm just checking to see if there's any questions. Okay, looks like we're doing good. So I'm going to pop back into our screen share so I can finish this out. Okay. Will and desire is huge. Again, we have that convertible sign, mother telling us that we have to build this through the Christ energy and that we're going to hunt and chase on the inside to bring forth from the inside out oneness, unity. And we have to have a will and desire for this to happen. So connect, connect, have a desire, because this is what's going to turn you so that you can be. And then we get to the word sacrifice, which is dabak. And when we looked at it, I just had popped it up earlier, and it was talking about immolation. And immolation is, completely burned up. When I take a look at this, because I understand about the sacred fire within the heart, the altar of our heart, we are talking about burning up the things that we judge. Here's the Dalet Nun, because this is on the prefix side. We're talking about all the external comparisons that were this or that, right or wrong, good or evil. These are the things that we judge, that we are burning and sacrificing on the altar of our heart. And it's interesting too that the Dalet Bet, the energy of the Dalet Bet, I should say it that way. Let me see if I can. I'm going to bring something else. I'm not going to share it with you guys because it'll just too many words on the page. But the Dalet Bet, when they come together, has to do with the word. Dabar is a Hebrew word for the word. See if I can get us down to where I need to take a look at it, because I was just sharing this with the Patreon group the other day, the importance of the Dalet Bet. The Dalet Bet, when it comes together, is the sign of natural abundance. And it's effluence, influence, emanation, communication, transmission, and insinuation. So when we look at the etymology of some of this with influence through the word, the dalet bet, it's talking about being in the flow of natural abundance. So when we're taking a look at the way that this has been written, this natural abundance is coming to us for those who have done what? Well, let's see what the letters are telling us. This natural abundance is coming and flowing through us for those who have found life, who are once separated. But they had to go through the door to deliver themselves from it by going within and allowing the seed. Notice that this bet now has a dagesh in it, has a dot in it. So this seed, it's actually in the place of germination because the Magdalene energy and the Christ energy have now unified. They are able to walk through, now no longer separated, but into finding life. The mother of all living, Chava, now is united. But it started with the process of comparisons, this or that. And remember how I said that last word was just a lamed standing there, hanging out by itself? It's to or toward or for or against. Has multiple meanings here. But the lamed is also, it's the shepherd's staff. It's the staff of authority. It's one who has compiled, put together, learned, has taught, teaches. And then hun is a word, the three letters coming together means dare and venture, wealth and riches. So, of course, if that's connected to natural abundance, we know how to get into the natural abundance through the influence and effluence. And it's through this source of communication where all things are coming from that are allowing us to find life, the mother of all living. And again, when we were talking about the idiomatic expression of why the languages, the Aleph through the Toph, through the Hebrew and the Aramaic, brings forth our inheritance. It's beautiful because out of the inside of our temple, we bring forth these treasures, the inheritance, so that we can communicate on a different level with one another as no longer divided, but really because we found life, and therefore our communication with one another, as we see we are all the pearl of great price, coming from that sacred enclosure space of our heart, we are no longer speaking from a place of condemnation or judgment of one another. Pretty amazing. Okay. So I'm done with that verse. I am going to show you one thing that really, I was like, whoa. So going back to the very beginning of that, and what started this whole thing was the phrase that I saw, the Lord of the gods. The Lord of the gods connected to the Magdalene energy and how it shows the process of the Magdalene and the Christ in the unification is giving us that ability to find the mother of all living and then be able to communicate differently with others in having natural abundance so that we're not lacking anything, because it's that separation in the mind, the ego, that diminishes our ability to see that we are naturally abundant, keeping us from our inheritance, keeping us from the fullness of life and light manifesting through us. So having said that, I thought, okay, so that's the first time I saw this word for priest that I hadn't seen before. I'm like, kumra, what? I've never seen this word before. So I decided to go take a look. To see all the other places that it was used. So let me show you this, because I did share it at the beginning and some of you have joined later. We're not going to go into all the verses. Okay. I just want to show the document to you. So give me just a moment here to connect on that. And then I'm going to do a screen share. And then I'm going to scroll down. And if you go back on the video and you want to pause it and you want to look at all these verses in the English so you can kind of have an idea what's going on, or through the Peshitta, you'll be able to do it. So let's do my screen share. And let me find the document. There it is. Okay. Here are all the verses that this is in. So we just went over Acts 14:13, but look at all the other times that this word, this kumra is used. And as we're scrolling down again, you can take notes or pause this if you're doing the playback later, and you can see all the different verses that this was used. And it's all within the book of Hebrews. Now, again, the Hebrews specifically is talking about a change of priesthood. And So I'm again scrolling down for your convenience so that those of you who are interested can then take a look at all these different usages or what they have in the English translation for this word for priesthood. There we go. But I am going to take you to the only verse that I want to highlight to you. And again, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because, again, that would be another hour. And I do not want to do that because I have a live stream on Patreon with my husband in 2 hours and I need a little bit of a break. Okay, so now we're going to do a screen share and we're going to bring you into the other verse that I want you to take a peek. The first time this is actually used in the book of Hebrews. Hit the right buttons here, take us to it. Okay. Thank you guys for hanging with me today. I really enjoy it. For some of you that, this is like my absolute favorite thing to do. So when I get to hang out with you and share a piece of my heart with you, it's a good day. And I've been missing it. I've been missing hanging out with you guys in here. Okay, here we go. So the change in priesthood is moving to this kumra. And here we have Hebrews 2:17. Therefore it was right that in everything he should be rendered like unto his brethren, that he might be compassionate and a high priest, faithful to Allah, and become an expiation for the sins of the people. All right. So few highlights here. We're not going through the whole thing. But here we have Zedek. So connecting to Melchizedek, which if you were reading in English, you know that the book of Hebrews is referring to the Melchizedek priesthood. And right here we have the word Zedek, which is righteousness or right doing. And then we have that turning again. And in all things, and we have that dalet bet, so natural abundance in all things. Now, take a look at this. The likeness, rendered liken unto his brethren. Dama. We have the word here, dam, blood, but this is also connected to mighty. And we see that there's a new seed that is being presented to us, a new seed that is going to give us a new base to stand upon. And notice that we have the word blood. That's either like juice of grape or blood. Has to do with Adam, one blood. But notice again, it's flanked by the Tav Aleph. So this has to do with that which is on the inside of the sacred space of the heart into this brotherhood. Okay, here's the word for Ak. And so the instruction, the staff of one that teaches Chava. Here is the mother of all living, you guys. Here is Chava. So it's hidden in the word brotherhood, but here we have the mother of all life that is giving us the staff of authority. So this likeness of that which is within us, this Christ-mindedness and this Magdalene heart gives us the authority to be able to bring forth this message. Because remember, brother and sister, these are just frequencies, because literally the word sister and brother are all embraced together as Ach and Achot, which means they have been delivered from that place of judgment. And they have found the mother of all living, which then gives them the power to hold out their hand to present this spark of life, this power, means, and directions as a very strong, powerful vision to other people. And why is that important? Because this has been added to the suffix side of brotherhood. This is letting us know that we are talking about dealing with our own shadow work, to the internal workings of us, so that we can be filled with this revelation that then brings forth power within our lives, giving us the ability to transmute the shadow, so that when we turn, right here, when we turn, there is no shadow in the turning, because we've transmuted it all into the place of light. Oh, that is so good. And then we have that word again, to be and was and turn, but we have Dan in front of it again. So what are we doing? We're turning all of the judgments that we see on the external, because again, it's on the mother side. So that means everything in our external world that we're judging, we are able to turn it by revealing that which we connect to on the inside and being able to connect to that external realm through the internal realm of the essence of the unseen, which then allows us to do what? Compassion. Here is the word for love in its form, which is compassion. This is beautiful because the resh and the mem, I know it's been a while since I've shared this with you guys, but people that have been hanging with us on Patreon have heard us talk about this. But the resh and the mem, the two of those together, which is in the heart of Aramaic, means to exalt and to lift up. So we have the het, which is the going to the root, the mother of all living, those who are once separated, who then find life on the inside. So compassion, this kind of love, is to exalt others and lift them up so that the place where they are separated, which is within, especially within the mind, because the ego sits and says it's separated, that they can find life within by bringing the mother of all living and connecting the Christ and the Magdalene in the center. That is why compassion is such a huge thing for us. And when we add that mem in front, we have the first two letters. That is mar, which is not only connected to mare, to sovereignty, which we have connected here. We have the mem resh aleph, which was the Lord of the gods, or the Lord, anyway, that previous verse we were looking at. This is saying that we need to present a loving compassion for those who have walked through the chaos that are in that poor and destitute place, in the place of bitterness. And I know that for many of us, we know this intimately because we were in that place of bitterness through the things that we went through, all the chaos in our life, and that place of separation where we felt just so alone. And loving kindness and compassion is meant to bring us back up to that. And we end it in the noon olive. So this is risen noon. This is new flesh. This is anybody that has been connecting to us on our Patreon teachings. Ken has been talking much about Emmanuel, the new Amanu. Well, this is the fullness of nu. It is the aleph. So that vav on the end is now connected with the higher and the lower, the yods, the hillel and the lila, unified as one, completely new, transformed into the essence of the unseen as the absolute, as one. And the nun aleph is actually a word that means we beseech thee. It's a prayer that is being added. So every time that we are bringing forth the loving kindness and the compassion, we are finishing it off with a prayer that a new seed of life would germinate and bringing all of us into the oneness unity due to all of the bitterness that we have experienced through separation. That's so amazing. Then we get into high priest. The word rab, they've also used that as a priest. So it's kind of like priest. The priests of priests, per se. But this is another word that means to expand, to abound, to multiply. So they've translated it as the high priest. But what is this really saying to us? It's saying if you connect and raise yourself up from the inside out to become great, you will have abundance. And that this message from this priesthood that is going forth, the ones who see, because they went through the waters of bitterness, and they are now seeing the unity because they've grasped that power and transmuted it within their heart. This message will be magnified and it will be going out in abundance. So in other words, this priesthood is increasing inside. So where we were taught before that there was one high priest, this is saying, no, this is going to magnify and extend out to be many who are going to be walking in this power. Now, when we get into faithful, okay, this is from the word aman, which when you complete a prayer and you say amen, it's actually meaning to be found firm and faithful, but it's also meaning trust and believe. It's a word that means to foster and support as a parent or as a nurse, to be quiet, to be still. And it is also connected to the right hand. Connect that to Ken's Compass teachings. If you guys have not seen that, if you're new to the channel, please go to the playlist Everything Speaks and enter into those teachings, the share times with Ken as he's talking with his son Jesse. They will bless your socks off because it is the full Compass tour, and it starts with going to the path of the right hand, which is right here. And it starts out by asking a question. What is this right-hand path? What is faithfulness? What is something that I can trust and believe? Because we come in having questions and the answers are coming to us. And in this process, through the right-hand path, there's that prayer again. The prayer, I, we, and beseech thee, please go through the right-hand path. Please ask questions. This is also what I've highlighted here is the root for manna. So your daily manna is seeking to find the revelation, have coming through that chaotic waters, find the mighty revelation that is going to power you from the inside as your daily manna, so that you can become a part as a beautiful string instrument playing a chord that is then unified in the harmony, in the coherence of the essence of the absolute unseen, the expansion of that of the music of the universe. And then we have the Bet Dalet, which is very important for us to look at here, because I haven't brought this up before. The Bet Dalet is two letters that come together that means distinct or alone, separation or isolation. Now, this should be speaking to the heart of some of you out here, because I hear this. I hear this many times, and I've actually heard this from quite a few of the people that are hanging with us on our Patreon weekly share times or Zoom meetings, is that they don't feel alone anymore. So if you are in that place where you're feeling like you're isolated and alone, it's because this frequency, what it's sharing with you is, if you're feeling isolated and alone, then you need to go within and deliver yourself of that which is keeping you disconnected. Let me say that again. If you are feeling isolated and alone, please go within and deliver yourself from the things that are keeping you disconnected. And what is that really doing? It's really the ego that is holding on to things, especially within the shadow, that keeps us from being able to connect, not only to one another, but really to yourself, and more importantly, to that of Allah. Because Allah, this is the essence of God as source, as in all things. God is all things. That includes us. Because this is where you're going to find the authority on the inside, which then allows you to become one with everything, not only externally in the world that you find around you, but also becoming one on the inside of those that you are with, so that the separation is no longer there because you delivered yourself from it. So even if you have distance separating you from someone else, or you have friends that are in different parts of the world, or in my situation, Ken and I have friends all over the world, we can tune into that frequency. We can literally picture our friends from other places and instantly enter into that unity place and feel their presence, even though they're miles and thousands of miles apart. The only thing that keeps us from doing that is the separation of what the ego does. All right, I'm almost done here. I'm not going to go for the rest of this, but there's two little things I want to highlight here. This word right here would be what is considered expiation, reconciliation. This is I think is this Lamsa's translation, Turridge's translation, and this is King James. The two letters right here, it's coming from a root word that means spare, to have pity or to spare. Spare one from sin. Now, you guys, this blew my mind when I looked at this, and then we'll land the plane. We have Ein Lamed in the middle of this word for expiation or reconciliation, recompense, all of those things. And then we have the word for sin, okay? The Ein Lamed is a two-letter frequency word that means to ascend, to become high, or to elevate oneself. And this is not like in a pride status. This is just saying that you now have the eyes to see because you've been instructed, and you have the authority because you can see the full landscape of everything. Instead of being stuck in the subjective state, you've risen above it, and now you're in the objective state, being able to see all things, which again is the ability of the Christ and the Magdelene coming together, so that we don't have to be tossed to and fro through the waters of chaos, which is very subjective in nature. So to spare, the Mem Aleph is on the flanking side, which is presenting a question and an answer at the same time. What is this? What are we sparing people from? And then the answer is right there as the Mem Aleph, We're sparing them from the fact that they were once separated. Now we're bringing them into unity. So they went through the chaotic waters. Now from the place of separation, they found life. And we have the Semek here, which is a symbol of the wedding ring as well as the signet ring. Why is that important? Because it's letting us know that the energies of the Magdalene and Christ have become unified, which gives us the ability to ascend out of sin. What is sin? Sin is separation that causes wrestling. Now, I want to show you guys something here that absolutely blew my mind. Blew my mind. Notice what I haven't highlighted here. Now, for some of you, you don't know the symbols. This isn't probably going to, you're probably going to have a hard time connecting to this. But when I saw this, I about fell out of my chair. And I started doing my little happy dance and my little champagne. And I was the only one here. So, you know, cat and dog were not impressed. This is the Tetragrammaton in reverse order. What is the Tetragrammaton? It is Yod He Vav He. This has been translated as capital L-O-R-D in the Old Testament. And there have been many people that have wanted to attribute this to Yaldabaoth. And I am not going to say yes or no on any of that, because a person sees right where they're at on their spiritual maturation. And if they need to see that this word right here is Yaldabaoth, then so let it be. It's part of their journey. I am not judging that either way. But what I am seeing here is a reverse mirror of the Yod He Vav He, the Tetragrammaton, that is showing us that this is from Hava. This is like the fullness that comes from the place of becoming to being that has been fully transmuted now and is the power of Yod He Vav He being expressed as the mirror image in this earth that we were separated from. So in other words, what are we saving and sparing people from? From the separation of the wrestling that they continue to separate themselves from this Tetragrammaton, from the process of becoming to being, because Eye, Aleph, He, Yod, He is I am. But the process is going to have to be this. And usually we're presented it with Yod, He first and then Vav, He. But this is saying in the mirror of it is one is going to beget another, and you have to connect to it. You have to connect to mother's revelation and father's revelation through spiritual maturation, the bride to the queen, in order to get the power so that you can mirror the light back to someone that's still in the state of wrestling. You are that mere reflection of the light that comes from the Christ and the Magdalene when you've connected to it and you have allowed that to convert you on the inside by connecting Hallel and Lila together, because really Hallel is Christ and Lila is Magdalene. This is the door to the people that have become one. So we talked about that this was a form of, right here, this was a form of separation and isolation. If we want to get past that, we got to deliver ourselves from the separation by going within to see the purpose and the meaning of that which allows us to see the full landscape of the chaos that was found within us, but to see the mighty nature that we are, having entered into oneness unity. And this right here, when you take a look at this and go into it deeper, it means the tribesmen of Israel or Jacob's flock. So this is in the maturation process of moving us from Israel into Jerusalem coming down. And in the New Testament, Jerusalem is spelled Orshalem, light of completion, that started as Jacob's flock to becoming the tribesmen of Israel, all 12 stones on the ephod, into the fulfillment of New Jerusalem coming down. The bride who has been lighted as queen has her crown, the woman that will assist the rest of humanity to help spare them from separation by teaching them the way to bring them into and out of into the light of Christ with the heart of Magdalene. And that is this priesthood right here that is going to expand and multiply one at a time as we get these teachings out there, share, and you guys connect from the heart space. I don't know about you, but I think that is something to really celebrate. It was a fun little nugget that I found this morning, and I thought, you know what? I am going to bring this forth and do a live stream today. Cero, it's nice to see you here. Yay. I just wanted to bring it forth so you guys could see this, because again, this was a new word that I hadn't seen before, another priesthood that I didn't even know existed. But then to connect that to the Qumran community, again, I'm not talking about that which is in the past. I'm talking about the frequency of the language of what it's saying to us. How incredible the Magdalene energy in the Christ mind coming together. And we are all getting to experience that right now if we tap into it. And what I shared with you guys today is the blueprint of how to do it. And so there are many ways that you can connect to this. In fact, for those of you who are seeing in the conversations, I think he has it under Molek, our friend Cedro from Romania, probably be having him on the channel at some point too, to be able to help us take us into a step further of activation, because he and I and Ken were discussing this about what this looks like moving forward. But I really wanted to give you this foundational piece. So we're an hour, almost an hour and 20. I don't see any other questions from you guys, or I might have missed it. If you guys have a question, hopefully I shared it enough that you don't need to. First of all, go look at the 800 plus videos that we have on this channel. Knock yourselves out if you're new to this. There's so much information there that it should help you get to speed. You can binge watch, you can take notes. There's so much that we've done in 2 years to present this to you. But if there's something that is specifically that you're struggling with, please, after this gets posted, put it in the comment section and I'll do what I can. It might be a follow-up video. I might type a response. Sometimes it's just easier for me to come online and just talk to you guys, even with a short video. But I've really been missing communicating with you guys. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for letting me do my favorite thing in the entire world, where I get to pull the pieces apart and show how they work together and bring these blueprints to you to say, it is time we have the eyes to see and the ears to hear and the heart for us to work through this with the mind of Christ and the heart of Magdalene, to bring these things forth and to actually change and make heavenly earth from the inside out, because it starts right here. It all starts right here in getting the coherence and then in sync, so that we have the cross completed, marked as those who are exempt from judgment, because we no longer judge. We've entered into the essence of the absolute, the unseen, one with all, one with God, seeing that God is all things, and we are part of that as it. So I love you guys. Shalom, shalom, shalama Allah hayakun, namaste, and chudutha. Let's celebrate the united front of those who have completed the journey and entered into oneness unity. Huba. I love you all.